Okay, it looks like we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Monday Magic Mood Boost, which is our weekly coffee talk about spirituality, about astrology, about many ancient things, including religions, mythologies, and all the fun stuff. As we are waiting for people to jump in, I just want to say hello. My name is Crystalline Sophia, and I am an astrologer, a folk healer, folk magician, and I really love studying old things like theology, mythology, and all that stuff. So I give you a ton of resources. Good morning, that I have discovered to help you do your whole journey on anything that you're looking to discover. And this week, hey Kay, hey Amber, I am back from Egypt as of last night. So how's the sound, everybody? Everything going well? Hey Gabe, thank you for being here. Hi Michelle. Good morning. Yeah, let's do a quick sound is good. Good, good, good. Because it is Mercury retrograde. And yes, I did travel on a Mercury retrograde general station day, which was a trip. I had the best time, Michelle. It was so good. I am a little stuffy, in case you can hear it. The sand and minor pollution of Egypt did not agree with my sinuses very well. So I'm nurturing that this week as I come down from that. But everything else was so amazing. And honestly, that was the smallest little blip of such an incredible time. I was there for like 3 weeks and I would go back tomorrow if I could. It was awesome. Oh, thank you. Yeah, my hair's got blue in it now, which I really love. I change my hair all the time. So if you're if you're someone who watches frequently, every couple of weeks it's going to be different, which makes getting headshots really difficult, but it is what it is. All right, Liz. Liz was on our first trip to Egypt. Hope you're recovering really well. Hi, Shauna. I am very glad to be home and very glad to be able to catch up with you guys. So much astrology is happening. So much is happening in the world. It's a lot that we are going through. So let's talk about it. How are you feeling? What's going on for you? Let me pull up. I had another page pulled up here, but it vanished, which is fine. Mercury retrograde also seems to have broken my favorite gaming system. So I'm going to have to get a replacement joystick, which is fine. But until I get it, I can't play my favorite video game and I'm bummed about it. So there's that. I remember I was looking at Mercury retrograde and I was like, well, it's not angular, it's in Aries, but it's where Mercury was in my solar return last year. And Mercury happens to be the time lord of my year. So I've been feeling it. Yeah. Cool. Liz is back on Pacific time, thankfully. I have not experienced the jet lag yet. Hi, Hunter. Good morning. Yeah, not the joystick. Yeah, it's going to be a time recovering from this. I was there for, like I said, 3 weeks. So I'm expecting that I'll have some jet lag recovery things to go through, but I'm giving myself permission to nap, which is not something I usually do. So permission for jet lag naps is available. I know last year I tried to just power through and get myself back on my regular schedule. And it took me like 3 weeks to not be falling asleep during the day. And that was with only like a 10-day trip. No, Gabe, it's on. This is my Asus ROG Ally. So it's not even a Nintendo Switch, which has the joystick drift. This one, the right joysticks left and right just stopped working. I imagine it got pressed too hard while it was in my bag in my suitcase because I did take it with me to Egypt. And so I probably just have to replace the joystick. Easy fix, but takes more time than I would like because I want to play now. So yeah, if you guys have noticed, I've posted a little brief recap of some Egypt pictures. It was awesome. Happy to answer any questions you might have and about Egypt and also about the week coming up. Japan jet lag. That was pretty I don't remember being too jet lagged. I find that I'm more jet lagged like when I go to California and come back. I don't know why. It's like this very short time change, but that's where it gets me. GoFundMe for the joystick. Fortunately, it's very cheap replacement thing. So hopefully no GoFundMe needed, but thanks, Liz. I love it. Um, yeah, yeah, I loved, especially in the second trip, everybody was just really leaning into being in Egypt and the adventure of it. And all of the pictures, you could tell on the first day I had a picture with my friend when we got there, and my smile was like, I'm trying to be joyful. By the end of the trip, it was effortless. And I really appreciated that huge relief of getting unstuck from some of the gunk that I had been dealing with in my energy. So It was lovely. It was needed. I loved it so much. And now we get back into this week where the Aries Ingress is coming up. And if you haven't already, I do have a like 30-minute video that generally goes over the Aries Ingress. There's obviously much more to get into, and I have a living document of it that I will be updating throughout the year for the student study and higher tiers of the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom Patreon, which the link, if you want to join that, will be in the caption of this video. And it's going to be a really good time. It was so good. I mean, Liz, I hope you were feeling joy as well in the first week we were there. But I think honestly, just being able to spend that much time with Hani, our guide, it's impossible not to start feeling joy. Hani is incredible and so appreciated. Oh, and this is one of my little papyri that I got. It's Newt, and I want to show this to you guys. So Newt, I wish I were working more with Newt. I work very deeply with Sekhmet when it comes to the Egyptian pantheon, but this is Newt. She's kind of doing yoga over people, and she's full of stars. Newt is the goddess of the sky, so she is the sky. That's why she's the stars. And so her mouth over here is where the sun comes out of each morning, and then it traverses the sky and it sets near her feet, and then she does it all over again the next day, and we love her for that. And so I got to kind of let people know that Newt is the ecliptic, right? It's the place where the sun traverses. And that means that it is the ecliptic. It's the circle of animals or the zodiac. And that's what she represents, which is really, really neat. We love a little Newt. I also got, to go along with my cartouche from last year, I got a Sekhmet with scarab wings, which is actually, I got to visit Sekhmet again. We'll probably talk about this more on the Alchemist Inkwell podcast recap, which we'll be filming this Wednesday. It'll release on Thursday, but it'll release probably on Wednesday if you're in the Patreon. And we got to see her again, and she showed me this, and I was like, I've never seen Sekhmet with wings before. I know they sometimes put the deities together to kind of do a compound deity to express a different concept, but I had never seen Sekhmet with wings. So then we went immediately after to this jewelry store, and boom, there she is as a necklace. I brought our guide over and I was like, what is this? And he confirmed that is Sekhmet with the wings of Ra, which is exactly what she specified. It wasn't the wings of the wings of Horus or the wings of the eagle or anything like that. It was, or the wings of the vulture. It was the wings of the scarab. And so she's got, if you see here, the solar disk behind her head, that little circle, and the wings of the scarab around her. So honestly, you guys, I have no idea how much I paid for this. I was like, obviously, this is confirmation and validation for what I saw. It's mine. So in my head, it was free. I don't know. I didn't even look at the price because I knew I had to get it as a reminder of that. So really, really, really good stories to be able to share with you. Em and I, we're not sure how we're going to break this down because we were there for such a long time. We're definitely probably going to do like one episode per trip, and there were 2 trips, so that we'll be able to do to do as much as we can. Honestly, Liz, it was at the Moses jewelry store, which it was your week that you were there. I found it there, and I was like, mine. This comes home with me. I'm sure I can afford it because it's for me. So it was one of those moments. I also got a new copy of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which is the same one that Hani, our Egyptologist and guide, has on his shelf. And I got to show it to you because the cover is gorgeous. So I got this copy. Look at this. It's so pretty. Like the binding, are you kidding me? And it's got pictures, and it's got the translations of the spells, and it's double spaced. So it's really easy to read. I can appreciate that a ton. And then I also got a book on some comparison between the Egyptian pantheons, especially when you get into Akhenaten. Akhenaten being the pharaoh who attempted to take the Egyptian Egyptian deities are not really polytheistic. They're considered neters, which translates into natures. And so each deity is considered a different nature of a single creative being. So it's not necessarily polytheism, but it is polytheism because they acknowledge that there's like one creator thing that expresses in a bunch of different ways. And so each deity is an expression of that. And so that's why you'll sometimes see them combined. Like with this case, it's Sekhmet who does protection and healing and destruction, but with the wings of Ra. So creating this divinity and more solar interpretation of Sekhmet, bringing those things together like a compound. And so when Akhenaten came along, their creator deity was called Atom, Atom or Atum sometimes. And you can relate that if you really want to the biblical Adam. of like the source of everything. It's really fascinating how you could get into that. But then Akhenaten said, no, multiple deities is not a thing. There is one God, the Aten, Aten. And this was an unpopular opinion that got erased pretty quickly. Tutankhamun was after Akhenaten, probably his son-in-law or son. It's not entirely clear yet, but he actually was originally named Tutankhaten after the one god, but then he had to change his name super fast to Tutankhamun, back to the original way that things would have been, so that the nation would know that he supported going back to the religion of having their multiple deities again. So the Aten is, of course, relatable to having a singular God, and there are so many comparisons between that and the Hebrews, who, the Israelites. So I have a book from a scholar, because it was a scholarly bookstore. It was a college, like university bookstore. I was having a great time. And I got a book that compares Akhenaten to the Moses dialogue. So I can't wait to be reading that. I'm probably going to update you guys, and I'm interested in your opinions here. If I'm reading a book on theology or astrology or something like that, and I have maybe something I find interesting, or I have something that makes me want to rant about the state of today and how we keep distorting traditional stuff to meet our current societal needs in ways that hurt other people, would you be interested in me filming videos and sharing that with you? I'm also thinking about proposing doing it here on lives, where I come up and I say, hey, I want to rant about this. Does anybody want to hear it? Because it's more fun to rant to you guys with an audience than it is to just a camera. If you guys would be interested in that, I would gladly give you scholarly backup in rants as to why things are a lot more universal than we give them credit for. It's basically the summary of everything is always going to be everybody's right and we should stop fighting about it. So hopefully that sounds like something you would be interested in as well. And I'll give you reasons why. And then I will also always cite my sources so that you can read it for yourself and see if you have the same or maybe a different interpretation, which is always okay. And then you can pursue more study if you like to. Jack is being adorable, laying on his bed right now. And you guys, I missed these guys so much. I missed you very much. You're a good boy. Jack, if you have not watched frequently, is my corgi, one of two of them. The other one is in here as well. She's chilling. She's amazing. Yeah, I hope they missed me too. According to Dan, they did, but mostly because when they get to sleep with me, they sleep on an actual bed. Dan has a futon on the floor that he prefers, so they've been stuck on the floor and not super happy about it, but they have to sleep with us because, that corgi herd mentality. Someone is wrong on the internet. Always, always. Aren't we all wrong on the internet according to somebody else? So that is one of the things I'm going to be putting myself out there with. Gabe, help me out if you have resources when you're on these lives to be able to help either educate me or help support and validate the path that I'm on. That's what I try to do for other people, and that's what I want for myself as well. So I will always hold myself accountable to feedback, accountable to growth, and accountable to deeper education, understanding, and wisdom. In that, it makes me a better guide to help you find your resources as well. And that's really what I'm about. So yeah, we have 3 for yes. Phenomenal. I'm going to take that as currently unanimous. If anybody is not for that, that's cool. I'm probably still going to do it anyway. We'll see how it goes. I just want to help people feel more educated and understanding and understood. So I think it'll be really, really fun. All right. So with that, how's everybody feeling about springtime coming in? How did the eclipse go for everybody? The eclipse was actually pretty great for me. It was in Virgo, which is my perfected sign of this year, which I found interesting. It was not near my midheaven degree, which was fine to me. It was close, but not right on. And I spent the eclipse day seeing Sekhmet again, which is right on the money. Sekhmet is, like I said, the Egyptian lioness deity of both destruction and also war and also healing and also protection. Every sphinx you see is the body of a lion. It's actually the body of a lioness. It is the body of Sekhmet. So when you see a sphinx with a pharaoh head, it's that pharaoh showing that they are expressing as Sekhmet to protect people, which I really love, that their protection deity is in the feminine expression. That's really, really neat to me. Also interesting is that their moon deity is in the masculine, similar to the way some Asian religions and faiths portray the moon, which is really interesting as well. Hi, Christy. Thank you for the compliment on my hair. I appreciate it. My house feels oddly silent, and also our windows were recently cleaned, so it's so bright. And there are daffodils, you guys. There are daffodils, and it's gonna get warmer, and I'm so excited because I don't do well in the cold. So I got to skip the end of winter by being in the desert in Egypt and enjoying that. We actually had a hail thunderstorm while we were there, so I got to watch over the Nile. I do have a video of it I can share later too. Jessa, good to see you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Yeah, so anything you guys want to hear on Egypt, I'll probably segue back into it because it has been my life so much recently and it really rejuvenated me in a way that I needed. Life has been lifing recently, and it was really nice to have this period of just getting out of the norm, breaking some of my habits, just by having a different routine and realizing that some of the tunnel vision I was living in could broaden, and it broadened so well while I was there. And I hope you guys are experiencing that as well. But the night before the eclipse, getting back to that, we spent the night on what is called a felucca. And it's this little boat, it's a sailboat. And the felucca, you can have it where it's like a bench all the way around, or ours was a cushion that covered the entire thing. So there are windows, and it was gorgeous. And right up flush with the windows, it was just flat all the way around. And there was a cushion on it. And we spent the whole day just sailing technically down the Nile, but we were headed north because the Nile runs opposite to usual rivers. It runs south to north. So we were sailing, actually, we were sailing, I think, against the current one way or another. And so what we were doing was just sailing all day long. And we had planned, we were going to really hit the boat running here by doing like a Q&A. I was going to help everybody learn some star spotting using an astrology chart. We were going to talk about how the eclipse is going to affect each of them. And we were just like, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this to fill this time because we're just spending the whole day on a boat. And then we're going to sleep on that boat. And so it was open air on the Nile. It was amazing. And we got on there and we're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Boom, 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 boom. We all laid down on the felucca. As soon as we laid down, we're like, okay, we're going to do all this stuff in about 5 hours because this is really comfy. And so many of us, most of us, spent the whole day napping on the Nile, which was great. And then later they cooked us lunch and dinner and breakfast the next day on the felucca. We didn't get off the boat until that evening. We had to pull aside, and we had a bonfire. I get to stand on the roof of a felucca and show people the sun setting and the moon rising and how to find all the planets in between. And it was a joy. Someone did catch a video of that, so once it's uploaded, I'll be able to share it with you guys, and you can see just how great that felt. Yeah. So it was awesome. Liz was at work the day of the eclipse. Nearly everyone was on a rampage. Got to leave early due to a therapy session. I'm glad you got to leave early, and I hope the therapy session was very constructive and recovering for you. Looks like we have a question. How do you think the astrology affected me on the trip? So I thought about this a lot, Amber, because I was like, wow, the eclipse is happening in my midheaven sign. And I was watching for it, right? So watching doesn't mean worrying over it. I didn't know what was going to happen. I knew I was going to see Sekhmet again, but man, I'd been working with her a lot, and I'd had a revelation of a message that I got from her when I visited her statue in 2019. And I visited her now 4 times. I have gotten back to Egypt and been snuck away in a temple to bribe security to visit a statue 4 times. Like, this is usually a once in a lifetime thing, but this happened to me 4 times. And when it happened the first week, I was like, you know what? Sekhmet only knows how to hurt me. I don't need to see her again next week. And then our guide was like, I'm going to get you in again next week. And I was like, I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. And so I spent that week just sort of communing with what I was supposed to learn because I felt like I hadn't gotten the lesson yet. And then, sure enough, randomly, one of our wonderful other travelers said something. And as she said it, we're walking like into a train station. It was one of the most mundane experiences you could ever have. But she said it, and my whole world just flashed with this is the message thing. And suddenly it all clicked. Something for the last, since 2019, that I have been working on, it all clicked into place, and it changed me inside, and it made me feel so much better. And I was like, cool. Give me the opportunities to really learn this. Give me the opportunities to really understand this, how to do it, when to do it, how not to do it, what it feels like to know when to do it, and what level to take it to, and all these things. And I had opportunities throughout the week. And of course, Sekhmet is a protection deity, which means she's a divine feminine expression that knows when to be mean, knows when to stop trying to play nice, and when to be a little bit rude to protect people. And so when we would have certain people come up and try to like divert our travelers to get tipping, which is totally valid and it's one of their ways of life. But we wanted to avoid that as much as possible. I found ways to maneuver my way in and to help people, to support people, to be people's accommodation, and to keep them safe, not just by being stern, but by being there and being stable and sturdy for them. And it was a really great lesson in what the divine feminine feature of protection looks like, when to stand your ground and when to sit, which is great because Sekhmet has an expression of standing, woman standing in her power. And then there's also Sekhmet sitting in her power, which is a whole different vibe. And it's such a relaxed, like, I don't have to do this right now because you know that I can do this. And it's just a really great thing. Christy is saying, fourth in a lifetime things. Yeah, Amber. I happened to wake up when the eclipse was happening. So you saw it for the first time. I was surprised by how small it looked. Yeah, the moon was probably higher in the sky by the time you saw it. We actually got to see a red moon, but it was because of the sand in the atmosphere. We did not see the full eclipse because we were in Egypt. And this was something I contemplated. And Gabe, I'm interested in your opinion on this because in the United States, we experienced the total eclipse visibly, which means that the effects of this eclipse, which I get into the timing of in my Aries Ingress video, because it was important for the whole year. It did help to set the tone for the year, being the pre-Ingress lunation that it was. But I thought, man, is this going to be subtler or maybe not so, crisis feeling because I'm on the other side of the world and because I'm not seeing the baleful rays, so to speak. What ended up happening was, of course, I visited Sekhmet for the fourth and final time of this trip, and I came in actualized in the lesson with Sekhmet, which was really cool. So it was this amazing moment of like, hey, I see you. I accept what we were trying to do. And I was able to bring someone else in too, because they're beginning a journey, which was much gentler than mine was, thank goodness. But also because it was in my midheaven, I was thinking, this is going to be poignant in my life direction, the direction I'm taking in life, and maybe also with career, keeping that midheaven context in my mind. And we found someone who wants to help us manage the podcast and help that grow, which is huge. And it came out of nowhere. And I imagine it's going to lead to really good things. And so if that is the divine path that was laid before us, we accept, and we're leaning into that, which is going to be great. Too many clouds for you, Melissa. Yeah, that was me with the solar eclipse last year. Kind of a bummer, but still, like, we were there. We got to see it happened. Yeah, thanks, Amber. I'm very excited about it. We'll be doing some really cool things. We get to be more involved with some things that we're very passionate about and able to make a difference for people that we've been wanting to make a difference for. It's an excellent opportunity. It's asking us to step out and be a little bit more visible. But I love that and I'm ready. And of course, that was sort of a theme of the eclipse then too, especially in the 10th house, that is reputation and things like that as well. So being more visible, being willing to take risks and say, this is what I stand for. So I'm seeing it as that sort of invitation, and I've decided to accept. Oh, also, this is exciting for me, and Gabe, you're going to understand too. You guys know how I am a fan for Demetra George all the time. I want to just celebrate the fact that tomorrow, thank everything that my flights were all on time and everything, and that I got home when I did, because tomorrow I get to have a reading with Demetra George, and I keep remembering it and getting excited. I'm so stoked. And Gabe, of course, knows Demetra personally and knows how exciting that is for me. So it's an astrology nerd moment that I'm very stoked for. Thanks, guys, for the emojis. You're a Virgo moon and just got a job. I don't know if that means anything for the eclipse. So depends on where your moon is, depends on how activated the moon is in your personal timing. If it was very close to your natal position of your moon, it might have been your lunar return. And if this is a very stark departure from something you've normally done, these are some things I would weigh in for saying, is the eclipse involved with this? There's a lot of factors to consider. And the more factors you check off, the louder it is in your life. And sometimes we don't really feel things. Like sometimes a Mercury retrograde goes by and you were like, it did. And that's great, right? We don't want it to happen all the time. So it's really great. Um, the experience, are you talking about with Sekhmet, Shauna? That's probably going to be on the podcast. Um, yeah. Okay, great. So it is a departure from what you're doing. The Hosier Yell. The Hosier Yell, we actually Anne posted this, was basically when we were in the hot air balloon. That felt like the Hosier Yell. It was great. Oh yeah, the Demetra reading. I for sure will, because hopefully that'll also function as a good review for Demetra if she wants to gain more clients that way, which I totally support. Demetra George, for anybody who doesn't know, was very active in helping to revive a lot of our Hellenistic sources through translation efforts and education, which she still does. She wrote these two books here, Ancient Astrology and Theory and Practice, which I cite all the time and I use as a backbone for my curriculum with my own students because it is so good and so not gatekeepy, which is fantastic. You can read this book that feels and is a textbook and you don't feel like it's telling you you're dumb, like so many textbooks feel like. So highly recommend it. And if you want support going through and learning that, you can always join the student study in the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom Patreon, where we are going through it every month and doing bits and pieces of it and really building on a solid foundation. She starts you with the history. You get to know why and where it came from and all this context that so often is skipped in other curriculums and contexts, and especially on social media. So it's really good to be able to say, no, this is my lineage. This is what I'm part of. And I love it. Yeah. Yay, Demetra. I'm stoked. So, how are you guys feeling this week? How's everything going? Technology is being technology, like in a very Mercury retrograde manner, in my opinion. Jack has fallen asleep and he's precious. I wish this were a phone, I would show you. He is just in the warm sunlight, being adorable and having a dream, and it's great. May we all have the coziness of a sleeping corgi today, because, yeah, your goals. You are goals, my friend. Um, any questions that anybody has about Egypt, the Aries Ingress, the eclipses, plural, because next week's another one. It's not total, it's not direct for us. Actually, I'm going to look at the chart and see what house it takes place in. I have analyzed this before, but I am on jet lag brain. So I appreciate some patience with me here as I'm getting better at kind of waking up a little bit. So this eclipse next week in Aries is going to be at the 9th degree, even 9 degrees and 0 minutes of Aries. So you're going to look at that place in your chart. Also notice, what houses Aries might affect for you. For us, it's going to be like right around just before sunrise that this perfects. So we won't be seeing it from our area. It's not visible over the United States, which is great. It's not directly impacting us. However, if we were to interpret it, this is one where, because it's right there on the ascendant, the effects of it will happen sooner rather than later, which is interesting to think of. I believe I'll probably be filming a video about it this week. I'll go into the timing. I'll go into the details. I'll let you know what. Mostly, I'm looking at Masha Allah and Ptolemy as my sources for this week. And I'll go into it even more, and I'll be sending it out with my newsletter next week. If you want to join my newsletter, you can absolutely do that. It gives you the free Aries Ingress video, as well as a nice infographic of some of the major transits and ingresses that are happening this year, so that you can stay informed and be like, I knew this was coming. It's the ultimate I told you so opportunity. So feel free to grab that if you want. It is happening on March 29th, just before 7 a.m., kind of around 7 a.m. Eastern time. But again, not necessarily visible from our part of the world, which, I'm okay with. So I'll take it. It is interesting to me, though, that it's occurring. I'm going to open up a second chart here just to confirm myself, because I'm working off of memory, which I have a really good memory, but I also like to be as specific as I can. It is 2025 now. And it is happening. Let's see. I'm glad I checked. It's happening very near the Venus and Mercury points in the third house of the United States Aries Ingress. So I'm wondering about news, paperwork, local travel, that kind of stuff. Maybe having a moment by transit, but also I will get into the theme of things a little bit more in depth on that video that I'll make dedicated to this. It'll be a 10 to 15 minute video, hopefully super digestible, something that I can share with you guys, letting you know the timing, when to expect, the portents of the omen of the eclipse, which is actually very different from the moment that it happens. So I'll show you how that works too. nervous about my trip to London, UK, and I've been feeling the energy ramping up. And now it probably is that eclipse energy as I leave April 2nd. So if you leave April 2nd, Amber, we're going to do some on the fly stuff here because I can and I like it. So if I cast the chart for April 2nd, we still have Mercury retrograde. It's going to be more or less conjunct Venus in retrograde, both of them in Pisces. Venus is exalted there. Mercury is detriment and in fall. The moon will have moved on to Gemini by then and will be applying to conjoin with Jupiter, depending on what time of day you're flying out. So the moon in Gemini conjunct Jupiter speaks pretty well for travel around that time, but you want to just prepare for any delays, things like that, blips in technology or mechanics, just because Mercury will be retrograde. So there may be issues with communication, with technology, with stuff like that. If there are numbers in charge, the numbers may be different than what they should be, and that could cause like a bug in the system kind of stuff. I traveled yesterday knowing Mercury was stationing retrograde. Notice that the stationary days are a little bit more poignant in a retrograde than throughout. And I remember thinking like, dang, I'm an astrologer. I'm probably the worst astrologer in the world because I plan travel for this day. But originally I needed to get back by Monday. So, must needs or needs must. And I did have delays. We did have like multiple situations. I had to book it through Charlotte Airport to make it to my last flight. I had planned to have a suitcase small enough to be able to carry on. This one flight didn't have a plane as big, so I needed to check a bag until Charlotte when I got it, and then snuck past security because I'm like, this totally doesn't need to be rechecked. Got into the actual security, had a bunch of really lovely people who were like, your plane is already boarding and you're only just going through security. Please go in front of me. Thank you again to all of those people. May they get so many blessings for being so kind. And then I got there right at the end of boarding, got on my plane, it took off, landed, and it was great. But there were hiccups, right? So we got there. Everything that needed to happen happened. I went into it deliberately saying, as long as I'm home by this important thing, whatever the universe needs, I will accommodate, because I am not the only person that is on this flight. I am not the only person participating in travel today. Someone else may have a more like sharper need to be in a certain place. The universe may be conspiring for all of us at the same time, and this person may have more energy required around them. And I am okay. I can make space for that because I only need to be here for this. And it felt really good. It's a really good way to detach when usually I will obsess over details and timing and things, especially in an airport. Rocio, hello, it's good to see you. Liz and Rocio were on our first trip in Egypt, and it was so delightful to spend that time with them. So yes, continuing to let you guys know if you have questions about the Aries Ingress, about the Aries eclipse, about time in Egypt or anything about Egypt, and also like theology, metaphysics, mediumship, folk magic, all that stuff. I had such a good time in Egypt because there's so much materia to gather there, the oils, the incenses. We went to a spice shop, and in my brain, that didn't mean incenses. So when they said we also have incenses, Em laughed out loud at what my face did, how excited I got. So yeah, thanks, Amber. So I got a bag of incenses, and now the only thing is going to be being willing to burn them. And it's okay because like we're going to go back. Hani is now one of my best friends, might as well be family. We will be going back to Egypt. We do have more trips getting announced soon. We are working a little bit more closely in our trips soon. We're going to start really making that a center point, Em and me, of what we offer. So stay tuned for that, where we want to really lean into this, especially over the next couple of years. The value of travel in times like these cannot be understated. Having little islands of being able to pull out and zoom out from the chaos that some of us are feeling right now. So important. The 19th, are we talking about the 19th of March, Jessa? Just so I can know. I'll start there. The 19th, as in 2 days from now, we do have the Sun conjunct Neptune that day. And I'm just going to look at a little bit more context. That's a Saturday. So on the 19th, let's see. Yes, cool. Anything interesting happening on the 19th? Am I looking at the right thing? Nope. I'm like, why is Venus direct? That is incorrect because it popped over to April. Okay, cast the chart. All right. So on the 19th, we have the moon in Scorpio for some of the day. I think it's going to move into Libra later in that day on the 19th at around 4:15 p.m. Sorry, it'll move into Sagittarius. So you have, if something's in the evening, you have the moon out of the sign of her fall, which is always a benefit. Also better for travel when the moon is in Sagittarius, helping us out with that. When she's in Sagittarius, she will be, pop there, she'll be opposite Jupiter, which is her ruler. He's in detriment, but he's direct and he's going to move into Cancer soon. So he is seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and jonesing for it. And I'm happy for that because boy, has Jupiter put a drag on some things in my life. And I'm really glad that it's already getting better as Jupiter has gone direct, and probably even more so when Jupiter gets into Cancer in early June. Going back to the 19th, again, what I'm seeing in the chart, Mercury and Venus still retrograde, still in Aries. Not too bad condition wise for Mercury, but Venus hates Aries. Aries doesn't seem to like Venus much either. So just be careful about clear communication in your relationships. If you need to say something that's a little bit of an Oklahoma moment, which is what Dan and I call it because of Ted Lasso, you say Oklahoma and it's like, okay, what do you really want to say? Make sure you preface it and say, hey, I need to vent. Do you have space for me? Or, hey, I need to say what I really mean. Can you receive it? Letting people know that they need to be in a state to receive what you're saying, and that it's not a punishment, and that it's not you attacking them, but it just needs to be out where it can be then taken in and supported by everybody involved, is very helpful, especially since we'll have the sun conjunct Neptune. If I were to get into it with that, I would say pay attention to any dreams, inspirations. Good day for meditation. But yeah, that's the majority of what I'm seeing around that time. Let's see, doing a triple check here. As far as anything that's not currently already happening, it's good. I would, if I were to do something, I would wait for the evening when the moon is at least in Sagittarius so that we don't have one, two, three, four of the planets in signs that they're unhappy with. So hopefully that helps. I've been having a lot of dreams too. And a lot of the dreams, this relates to this as well. Thinking about what might be in your subconscious that's coming up in your dreams for processing. I had a couple dreams yesterday while I was on the plane, just sort of dozing, and I woke up crying because I was having these dreams that were helping me process some fears that I'm experiencing right now. And I woke up with some tears streaming down. And I'm like, okay, we need to feel this. One thing that you'll hear from me on our podcast recap is that in my first experience with Sekhmet the week before last, she literally, I don't know how to explain the experiences I've had with Sekhmet. You just have to understand that there's a statue, but it comes to life. And then literally the whole room went dark, even though there was a window and it was a cloudless day. Em was there too. She saw it go dark. I know it happened. And it was so that I didn't need to close my eyes to see the images that Sekhmet wanted to give me. So she comes out of the dark, sticks a claw in my heart to the point where I can feel sort of the bleed that felt like a really oozy essential oil, and just said, you need to let it bleed, which means you need to like feel your feelings, which I had to lean into. But those things are now processing. So even though I'm feeling some moments of discomfort, it's good because they are happening. Like I'm at the point where I'm letting them process. I'm very proud of myself for that. So hopefully if you guys are experiencing something similar, you have the support of a good therapist, good support system, good friends, good spiritual support in whatever you need, but also know that you're doing the work. This is going to turn into a superpower on the other side of it. It's going to turn into a better version, more actualized version of yourself. I won't necessarily say better because you're fantastic as you are, but it's going to really contribute to your healing and you deserve that. So good for you for walking the path and for taking the next step. And to quote Anna from Frozen 2, doing the next right thing. That seems to be a big, helpful phrase right now for a lot of people. This tip helped me a lot this week. Yay. Had some clarifying conversations with your mother, Rocio. I'm very happy for you. I hope that that continues to go well. Yeah, I think this week it's really about the salve on the burns is what it feels like. We've got a lot of energy with that Mercury and Venus retrograde happening in fire, and the more sanguine energy we can get from leaning into that sun and that sun conjunction in Pisces is something I'm looking forward to. I need a little more sanguine in my life. I don't know about you guys, but sanguine sounds good. It also sounds like penguin, which is fun. Yeah. More about the Aries eclipses. Okay, Kay, just in general, or is there anything in particular that you're looking for? Also, Hunter, yes, Frozen 2 is a total like must watch multiple times thing. It has helped me with so many things. I used it when I had a really hard time in January. and just the relationship dynamics that are so good. The idea of what unconditional love and autonomy in a relationship can look like is amazing. Um, and just how to know when to do the right thing, how to discern that even when things are hard. I think it's very relevant right now. Onward is very good. Ted Lasso is coming back, you guys. Season 4. We all deserve this. I'm so excited. I was watching Ted Lasso episodes over someone's shoulder on the airplane yesterday, and it made me very happy. And then I got home, and Dan said, "We have a new season." This is cause for celebration. I love Ted Lasso. So yeah, talking about the Aries eclipses. Basically, if you're looking at Aries in your chart, you just want to see where Aries is for you. So for me, it's in the sixth house. So I'm going to look at concepts of the sixth house: health, service, um, physical health situations. This can look like your day job, the things that you do in service of other people, which can be charity work, volunteer work, but it's also your day job if you're not working on your own, or even if you are, it's something that you're doing in the service of others. In ancient times, we would have also put the people that sort of belonged to other people there. And so we move that up to modern day where ideally that's not as much of a problem. And we say this looks like day job kind of stuff. Um, Jen, good to see you. Yeah, yay for Ted Lasso. Aren't the nodes in Pisces and Virgo now? How is it in Aries? Kay, beautiful question. You are correct. So, what happens is the nodes are in Virgo and Pisces now. An eclipse happens when the sun and the moon are within roughly 15 degrees of the nodes. The nodes are invisible, they don't actually exist. They are points in the sky that let us know sort of where the ecliptic is. So, when the moon hits it, the moon is going from one side of the ecliptic, or one half, what do I want to say? I want to say hemisphere-ish of the ecliptic to another. And so when the sun and the moon both are around that nodal point, they are at that point where the earth can get in the way of the sun lighting up the moon for a lunar eclipse, or they're in that point where the moon can get in the way of the sun lighting up the earth for a solar eclipse. So it's just saying they're at the right declination, they're right at the right level on that, what is it, x-axis of the grid, to be able to block each other out. So the nodes are just reference points in that way. But when they have that, when they're at that perfect situation, it adds a certain intensity. So we do look at it for that. So yes, the nodes are in Pisces and Virgo. They recently got there. For example, today, if I update to now, the nodes are at roughly 27 degrees of Pisces and Virgo. And so when we have the Aries eclipse, which I think I still have over here, um, the sun and the moon will be far away, like wider there, because it'll be at 26 degrees Pisces that day, and they'll be at 9 degrees Aries, which is why this is not necessarily a total solar eclipse, but they are close. So there is that eclipse where part of the sun's going to be blocked out because they're at that good angle. So because they're close to that degree, they're close to that space where the nodes are, we do see an actual eclipse. It is the last Aries eclipse in the cycle. So we have this last one because it's sort of in that transitional phase. Now we're going to go alternate more consistently between Pisces and Virgo for the next year-ish or so. Hey, Russ, I am back, and I love the blue too. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of it. I actually got the blue the day before I left, which is why you guys haven't seen it yet, but it's been here for 3 weeks, and I'm loving it. Yeah, so it's roughly 15 degrees. It's a good area for us to be like, yeah, that's sort of a standard to work with. And so that's why it's on the other side of the nodes, but because they're close enough to that point in the sky, they will have that little bit of an eclipse going on. So when an eclipse is partial, by the way, that means that its effects are going to be a little bit less. So this is less of an intense eclipse. Last year we had the Aries solar eclipse. It was total. It was over the US. There was a lot of like, this is going to be relevant here. The one thing I was excited about was it wasn't on the horizon, so its effects weren't going to be as immediate. Which was good. Everybody was having a moment where they're like, is this a doomsday eclipse? And I had the one video where I was like, if it were on the ascendant, I'd say maybe this is a doomsday kind of eclipse, but it wasn't. It was later, which meant that its effects were more projected outward into the years that it was going to be revealing. We are in the effects of it now. It peaks, I believe, by the calculations that I've worked with my mentor, probably around January 2026. We'll see the peak of what it's up to. So just know you're already handling it and you're doing great. Um, yeah. We love the blue hair, says the blue hair. Blue hair club. Uh, oh, Zats, I'm glad that you are on your airplane. I actually don't, I assume that I know who you are, but I don't know Zats yet. But I hope you travel safe. If you're one of my Egypt friends, yeah, I hope that you have the best time. And also let me know who you are because I would love to know who I'm talking to more directly. It makes me happy to know you guys by name. Yeah, yes, okay, the intensity of it, not as much. That being said, more intense stuff does happen. It still is an eclipse, so we want to respect that. But not as eclipsy as it could have been a ward, which is my vague way of referencing Avatar: The Last Airbender when Katara says, "Not as big of a jerk as you could have been a ward" for Zuko. So anybody who loves that, looking forward to more Avatar as well. A little bit, concerned about the direction they're taking it, but aren't we always when they do things different to things that we love? So I'm willing to see how that goes. Awesome. Yeah, great question. Love that because you're absolutely right, and it deserves some clarification because it gets nuancy, right? So I'm so glad that you have such a brilliant mind and that you get to ask all the good questions. I appreciate them. I was watching Pocahontas yesterday and realized how much of Radcliffe's rhetoric is relevant today. Yeah, I encountered someone recently who is a doctor, and they are very confident in their science, which I am too, by the way. I support science. But they were not confident in astrology. And so by the end of the time that I was with them, they were more confident in astrology for sure. And they were trying to explain to me how standards and stuff should work because I was talking about Rodden ratings, which is how we grade how accurate a chart is likely to be based on where we got the birth data for like the time and things. And they were like, "Oh, so you have a standard and blah blah blah." And I was like, "We've had this standard for longer than you've been alive. Like it's totally okay." But I remember thinking like, you don't know what you don't know. And I was like, can somebody please sing Pocahontas to this dude? Because some of us are in the mindset that only what we know is true. And we forget that the world is so much bigger than that and that there's so much we don't know, which is why I really love the Socratic method of like, I know what I know and I can be really good at what I know, but boy, do I not know a lot of things. And I am a student in those areas for sure. I can decentralize myself enough to know that I have always some learning to do. So it's very important. Hey, Caitlin and Misty, good to see you. Glad to have you guys here. We still do have some time for questions. After this, I get to run out and get my Chinese food, which is the one thing that I missed. I will say, though, the food in Egypt made me so happy. Uh, it was delicious. It was healthy. It was fresher. It was delicious. I'll say it again. It was so good. I have had so much falafel, and I'm not even mad. I did not get bored. The way that they use their spices over there, everything is a new adventure in flavor. So it was great. So good to see you too, Caitlin. Um, yeah, so I hope you guys are enjoying today. I feel a little subdued today. I think it's my energy. But hopefully we're still having a good time because I am. I missed you guys. Realize how much the line about every rock and tree and creature impacted my beliefs, right? Yes, agreed. Yeah, Korean food. Ah, yeah, you missed the Korean food while you were gone. I get that. I don't have as much access to Korean food here. We have a lot of excellent Chinese. We have a lot of excellent Indian places here. We have a little bit of everything. I should probably look for Korean food and explore it a little bit more. There was a really good Korean food place when we were living in Denver that had bibimbap that was life changing. So love that. um, yeah. Oh, thank you guys so much for being here today. I appreciate you all so much. The fact that you guys are all hanging in here with me in a circle in a hoop that never ends, which is the circle of life and it rules us all. And my favorite thing about that song is that it talks about the wheel of fortune. And so I get to look at the lot of fortune in people's charts and be like, ah, there's actually a hieroglyph that looks like the lot of fortune, unsurprisingly. And it usually means that the name of a nation is following that symbol. So when you see something that looks like the lot of fortune symbol on a wall in Egypt, you can know that following that is the name of a region or a kingdom. And I really love being able to be like, up, we see that there's a kingdom here because we can see the lot of fortune. Oh, it's Alexandria. Hey, I didn't know that you were Zats, but that makes me even happier because we were just chatting on Instagram before you popped on. So you did get to catch it live a little bit. Oh, I hope that doesn't mean your flight's delayed. Nancy is in Colorado Springs. Love it there. I trained there for a job I did a couple years ago. It was awesome. Colorado is a lovely, lovely place. But yeah, you guys, we did that. And I'm very proud. And I got to come home to springtime, which also makes me happy. One of my favorite reasons behind us doing trips in the February to March timeline in the year is because it gives anybody who needs it an opportunity to get out of the funk that February often brings at the end of winter. So that's one of my favorite times that we travel is at the end of February because I just have to make it to the middle or so of February, and I know I'm going to get to do something fun and warm, and it's always good. Spring is a good season. I like it. It could be a little less wet and windy, and I'd be okay. Wind does not like me. I'm not very fond of it either. In most cases, I do not have a lot of air in my chart. I would prefer water and earth. Thank you. Um, yeah, we're going to be doing a trip this fall and next fall, wink, wink. Later this year, actually, on the day of the Aries Ingress, later this week, on the day of the Aries Ingress, we will be announcing our next trip. So stay tuned. I should really start recording the clues for that because I'm going to let you know where we're going, and I'll be announcing it on the 20th. So I'll probably start doing clues tomorrow, and you guys can guess along with us where we're going. And then on the 20th, the page will open up. If you are in Patreon or if you have traveled with us previously, we are going to send you the link early. Keep an eye out for that, maybe sometime after Wednesday when Em and I get to actually meet again. And then we will post the pre-registration link to you guys exclusively so you have first dibs at the spots. So that's for Patreon members and previous travelers. You guys get first dibs. Yay trips. Yeah. I am ready for warm weather. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I love the woods. The snow is fine while it's pretty. But then it gets really invasive and annoying pretty quickly. So it's like it's pretty to watch it come down, but then when I want to do stuff, I need it to go away. Um, but that is my self-centered opinion on snow for sure. 100%. Yeah. Thank you, Misty. I'm glad that the hair is going over well with everybody. And I like that it's actually like only underneath. So it only shows up when I brush my hair back. It's also under these guys a little bit, which is harder to see. But we're doing something cool. I think next time we're going to go more copper. So we'll see how long this lasts. I love it. But my hairdresser also likes to play with stuff and I'm down. So it sounds good to me. Um, any season where there are no mosquitoes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We'll be able to talk about mosquitoes. Well, we were on the Felucca, sleeping on the Nile, spending the day on the Nile. Naturally, there were mosquitoes. Some of us were spared a majority. Like most of my bites are already gone, but some of us, those mosquitoes really did enjoy, um, you know, sending all of the comfort and healing to those people. And it was one person got so bitten up and they were right next to me. And I swear they must have just spared me because of them being there. It was insane. Um, will it be warm in Iceland? I think it'll be on the cooler side. We're going to be there during the summer solstice. So it'll probably be on the cooler side. I haven't done my research on the weather yet. I've been researching their magic. So I'll let you know. Yeah. Yeah, I usually until recently, I think with eating healthier, I've become less appetizing for mosquitoes, probably because I cut back on sugar. And I wonder if that's a thing. Total random theory on my part, no foundational evidence for that. It's just my idea. Yeah, vitamin B helps. Good to know. Maybe I've been getting more vitamin B. Love that. Cool. So we have about 5 more minutes, you guys. I already have next week's posted, so you'll be able to remind yourself if you want to pop back here next week so that we can or we can go over everything together. We'll be able to go more in depth into the eclipse that's coming. That is, of course, happening on the 29th next week, which is this Saturday. Yep, doing my math in my head. We are good. So we'll be able to do a whole investigation of the eclipse. My video will post next week as well. And we're in this together and it's not as intense as it could be, which is good. Yeah, next week, let's see. What are we going to cover next week? So next week we've got the eclipse. We've got Neptune pops into Aries. This is a big one we will discuss. It doesn't stay there for super duper long because it will retrograde back, but it is its first foray into Aries. We'll go into that timing. Venus will retrograde back into Pisces where she's exalted. That might soothe a little bit of the retrograde experience for us. Mercury will be halfway through their retrograde cycle, which is pretty fascinating. Venus hits her halfway this week on the 22nd, by the way. So you are almost halfway through Venus's retrograde if you've been feeling that over much. Yeah, so those are things to look forward to as we get into next week. Mercury will move into Pisces on the same day as the eclipse, which is fun to think about. Yeah, so tons to talk about next week as well. Oh, you're O positive. The mosquitoes do seem to love that. I actually do not know what my blood type is. I have asked multiple times and no doctor has ever told me. So I'm clueless. I imagine I'm a common one, but I don't know. One day maybe I'll find out. I am curious. I don't think I'm O positive since the mosquitoes don't come after me. We'll see. Yeah, great seeing you again too, Gabe. I appreciate you. I'm excited to see you at NORWAC. Gabe, will you be there? It'll be really cool to catch up with you. I'm mostly going to NORWAC for the friends this year, and I'm really excited about that. Of course, I'm doing a Demetra George workshop too. Don't get me wrong. The education is amazing. But the friends are really, really good too. I love that. There's a test you can order. Well, that's good. I might have to do that because I get my blood drawn like every year to check on the whole metabolic and everything, but none of them say what type it is. And it's like, I want to know. Awesome. Oh no. Oh, NORWAC excitement just went bloop. So, well, that's a bummer. But Gabe, I hope that whatever the obligation is, it is just as fun and rewarding. I know you've been on a roll lately and in high demand, rightfully so, for your amazing knowledge and wisdom. And whatever you're doing, I hope it's awesome, and I am excited to support it. Yeah, there are other people. There are, but you're definitely one of the highlights. So just know that I respect you. Um, cool, you guys. Well, try to donate blood. I can't. I'm on blood thinners. I have tried to donate blood before. They don't want me. So thank you all, as Amber is saying, for being the best community. I love you guys so much. I appreciate you all. Yeah, I would. I've tried to donate blood. I have been a support for others who are donating blood. I do what I can, but that is not one of the ways that I am meant to be here for, I guess. But thank you all so much. I'm going to go pick up some Chinese food. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day and try to recover a little bit. But this is included in recovery for me. So just so you all know, it was not a drain on my energy to jump on here, even though I'm jet lagged and just got back in. I've been looking forward to reconnecting with you all the entire time. I will be back next week. I look forward to it. I hope to see you all as well. I hope this is as much fun for you as it is for me. I'm glad you missed me. I appreciate that so much. And yeah, more to come. More social media stuff that I'm starting to finally get organized because I have support of an incredible person who's helping me with that. So I also may be leaning into a little bit more focused content in addition to astrology and everything else that will include more on traveling, that will include more on deconstructing Christianity, not overwriting it, not canceling it out, but deconstructing it, which I believe is appropriate. If you're in the Modern School of Ancient Wisdom, we're about to do a book that helps to decentralize it a little bit and get into comparative theology. It is not as dense as it sounds. It just sounds cool for you to be able to say once you've read it. So yeah, if that sounds like something you guys want, let me know. I want to know that, I'm not just tooting my own horn over here or just, going off on something that nobody wants to listen to. You matter to me. So, rants about some misinterpretations of the Bible, some misuse of the Bible in modern day. I love to go off on that. Would happy to do more on that. Same goes with some clarity on what we see with social media astrology and how we can use it more focused and get stuff like that. So I will be posting more throughout this week and changing things up, hopefully in a way that is better. Some more revelations I got during the eclipse. So thank you all very, very much. I will see you again next week. And I hope that you have a magical week this week. You are brilliant. Bye, guys.